At the edge of nowhere, only the wind and small talk break the silence.
All right, boys. You have fun.
Just one step it behind you.
The stillness lasts only a second.
All smiles, baby. You ready?
And then it is replaced by this.
See ya.
The sound of a human body moving at 120 miles an hour. These are wingsuit base jumpers at work, riding the new high of extreme sports. And they're not alone. In a society that moves at hyperspeed, a new breed of athletes is doing the unthinkable.
It's always going to have that danger element. But that's why these sports are so exciting.
Whether on two wheels
That string is inside!
or two legs,
Great job, great.
we're pushing ourselves to the limit.
It's so easy to quit. I don't give myself that option.
Companies are feeding the demand for feats of daring, and business is soaring.
Kiteboarding is so intense. You get to harness one of the elements, which is a very, very powerful experience.
The extreme has gone mainstream, and now everyone wants in on the action. I'm Carl Quintanilla, and this is The New High, Extreme Sports. For some people, the laws of gravity were meant to be challenged. Say hello to the GoPro Bomb Squad. Neil Amundsen, Marshall Miller, and Jesse Hall. They're athletes who make a living skydiving into stadiums and base jumping in sponsor videos like this one. Base jumpers leap from a structure or cliff with a parachute. Some, like the Bomb Squad, even do it in wingsuits.
You've seen the pictures of flying squirrels where they kind of stretch their body out and they become somewhat of a wing and fly through the air. That's what we look like and how we feel as we're jumping off of things.
You also have a term, human flight professional. What is that?
We can jump out of a plane, we can jump off of a building, and fly our bodies pretty much anywhere we want.
Often that's at their home base in Salt Lake City, and here at nearby Notch Peak.
This particular ridge right here, a lot of people jump off and try to fly that ridge. Oh, really? Amazing, yeah.
9,000 feet above sea level, Miller checks the wind.
I mean, if we grab some dirt here, it's gonna blow back on you. Be careful. It's gonna blow everywhere, but you can watch this.
It went straight up.
That's scary for us. What we're gonna do with this type of weather, we're gonna wait for lulls.
This is not for your weekend warrior, right? You don't dabble in this.
Wingsuit base jumping is something we take very seriously, something that we practice for a lot, we train for a lot. You don't just really show up and jump off of this cliff in a wingsuit. That's definitely a recipe for disaster.
Miller says proper training demands hundreds of skydives.
The longer we wait, the better it's gonna get.
Mother Nature cooperates on this day, and the men don their wingsuits, custom made and costing upwards of $2,000. Amundsen steps up first.
That moment when you jump off the cliff is such a special moment because, at least in my life, it's one of the things that demands complete focus, more so than almost anything else I've ever done.
How you guys feeling? Good, not bad. You guys want 10 seconds?
We're all scared before we jump. There's an element of fear. Afterwards, the feeling of joy is so much, you're willing to deal with that as part of the experience.
Amundsen veers to the left, while Miller and Hall steer to within feet of our cameraman. Ripping past him before pulling their chutes. Woo! The ride from top to bottom lasts less than 90 seconds.
Woo! That was so good to see you over there.
That was such a good flight.
Can you compare it to anything that the ordinary person might recognize?
No, there's nothing like it. You're a
really
jet
not.
with your head on the front, ripping down a mountain with your buddy right next to you.
We both looked over at each other and
So cool.
you can see each other smile, just like, I know how much fun you're having right now, and vice versa, you know? It's this incredible feeling.
And it's a feeling they get to share through the GoPros strapped to their bodies. GoPro's first video cameras came out in 2006. 2 years later, Amundsen used one on a base jump in Europe and posted the clip to YouTube. GoPro took notice and began sending him free cameras. So at this point, you've got this relationship with this company, right? They're not a household word by any means, right?
Right.
How does the Bomb Squad get formed?
You know, in any sport, you get this idea, how fun would it be to do this for a living? We thought if we could get GoPro to get one logoed parachute, they would see the power of human flight attached to a brand. You know, you call it a flying billboard. So they sent us some cameras, we sold them to our buddies, and we made enough money to get a parachute. And we quickly learned one parachute is pretty cool, but man, three would be way better.
Because you had to share.
Exactly.
It was like three brothers who had to share like one toy.
So we'd go to an event and one guy would ground crew, the other guy would jump. It was fine, but I mean, the fun part is being in the air with your buddies.
GoPro bought the team 3 chutes and signed them to its roster of 130 plus sponsored athletes.
I think those guys really bring the brand to life through their personalities and what they do.
Paul Crandall is the senior vice president of marketing at GoPro.
How much of the company now is the camera and how much of it is the content? I mean, it's...
Well, one begets the other.
The virtuous cycle.
The virtuous cycle, right? So I go skiing, I share my experience with you. You say, oh my gosh, I want to go skiing too. You go out and do the same thing and you share the content, which drives people back into purchasing a camera.
Just 5 years ago, GoPro's annual revenues were $64 million. Fueled by a generation that lives online, the company went public in 2014, with revenues soaring to $1.4 billion.
We're in an era where the dovetailing of your technology, of that sort of lifestyle, of social media, like it all came together.
The timing's mind-blowing. It was a convergence of technology, high definition, a lot of social platforms being everywhere, and all of it merging at once, and we hit it.
Videos of the Bomb Squad's adventures in Italy, Norway, and at home in Utah rack up millions of hits on YouTube.
Does it create the incentive to take more risks, right? Because you want the views and eventually take risks that are too much.
I think initially it does, but I think when the viewer at home is watching some of our GoPro footage, it's pretty easy to say, well, these guys are adrenaline junkies or thrill seekers with a death wish. That's not at all what we are. We have friends and family at home that we're going to go home to every night.
And you're not seeing the years of experience that come behind every jump. All the jumps we did in smaller suits, skydiving, working our way up to these larger suits. There's just years and years of experience and lessons that we learned along the way.
There is a sense that when it comes to documenting some of these extreme sports, that it's got to be bigger, right? Mm-hmm. It drives people to, I don't know, take unnecessary risks. Is that fair?
I don't know if taking unnecessary risk. I think people have been taking risks all their life. GoPro is just an enabling device for them to go capture that moment.
2, 1, yeah. That is crazy. By the time all of you had left the cliff, my cameraman turned to me and said, not for $1 million. And I said, not for 10 million. That's the difference between you and us.
Everybody has their specialty in life, and for us, it's wingsuit base jumping.
When I'm up there, I have this urge to leap off the cliff. The whole time we're standing up there, I'm like, okay, I can't wait to jump off this cliff as soon as possible.
Not something you hear every day.
Everybody ready?
Following that passion has allowed them to make the impossible possible. But not everyone defies the odds. Later, the grim toll of base jumping. For some extreme athletes, the North Shore of Maui is as good as it gets.
It's the ultimate feeling of freedom that you are in control of. I'm harnessing the wind.
It's a little bit like being a wakeboarder with your hands on the throttle on a boat that can turn into an airplane.
Steering a massive kite at up to 65 miles an hour. It's high octane and high risk. This is kiteboarding, And at the end of these kites are Silicon Valley's movers and shakers, who've taken to the sport in big numbers. On a wet and cold New Jersey morning, 6,500 racers have gathered to scratch and claw their way up a muddy ski slope. At the front of the start line, a woman you haven't seen on SportsCenter or read about in the newspaper, but she's one of the best obstacle course racers in the world. Her name is Amelia Boone.
You're a legend. There's no way to do this story without talking to you. Do you realize that?
I don't really know how it happened.
You said you've never been the fastest.
No.
Never been the strongest. But you have the highest tolerance for pain?
I think it's just I have this will to keep going.
By day, the 31-year-old Boone, a Chicago bankruptcy attorney, is the picture of corporate success. But on weekends, she sheds that button-down exterior and gets down in the mud. Boone is sponsored by Reebok and has earned some $55,000 in prize money. Welcome to the Nitro Circus.
How do you describe it to someone who's never been? Has no idea what to expect?
It's an adrenaline ride from the very beginning to the very end.
If it has wheels and can fly, you'll find it here.
If you like fireworks, you like the show.
There's some pyro?
There's a lot of pyro.
40 performers in constant motion on motorcycles, bikes, skateboards, and scooters. An extreme sports extravaganza. But in this extreme sport, that peace is too often shattered.
A veteran parachutist has plunged to her death while base jumping in Yosemite National Park.
Since 1981, more than 250 people have died while base jumping.
How many friends or acquaintances have you had die?
Too many to remember, you know, a lot. I don't know. I mean, I don't even want to say the number because it's too many.
Yeah, that is the dark side of base jumping. I mean, obviously it's a very small little community. We know each other. We know everybody that does it. And when 20 of our friends died last summer in various parts of the world, that weighs on you pretty heavy.
1 month after our interview, 2 of their friends, including a renowned climber, Dean Potter, died during an illegal wingsuit jump in Yosemite National Park.
Does anyone ever say this is unnecessary?
Yeah, they do for sure.
That it's senseless?
It's a very personal experience, and it could be, you know, considered very selfish. But at the same time, there's value to doing that thing that you believe in, even though it's very personal.
The risks inherent in extreme sports have given at least one company pause. In 2014, Cliff Bar dropped sponsorship of 5 pro rock climbers, including Dean Potter, saying, "We no longer feel good about benefiting from the amount of risk certain athletes are taking." Marshall Miller, for one, doesn't want to be on the losing end of that equation.
We don't want to be the most progressive wingsuit base jumpers. That's a short lifespan. The progressive end of this means taking risks that no man has done before. And I'm not sure that's a place we want to be in. We want to be in a place that we can enjoy this for a long time.
I don't mean to play the Russian roulette card, but there's an element of luck, right?
Fate maybe is a better word, but you can call it luck. Yeah, it's a hard thing when you notice your buddies who are as good or better than you at what you're doing who have accidents and or pass away.
That's a really difficult thing with these sports and the risks that are involved.
Travis Pastrana has defied gravity, and maybe too, the law of averages.
When do injuries and the risk of injury, when does it really become a factor for you?
You need to learn your limits. And unfortunately, you're not going to learn your limits until you step over them.
The athletes who practice their craft at its most extreme are kiting higher, enduring longer, flying faster, and leaping farther, despite the risks. Now the rest of us are pushing the boundaries too, in search of a new high. I'm Carl Quintanilla.